When Final Fantasy VIII was released to the world in 1999, it made a huge impression on gamers, and it's still recognized for its innovative gameplay, stunning visual quality, and enchanting musical score. But the most redeeming aspect of the game was likely its overarching story. So in this video, I'll provide a complete chronological storyline explanation for the entirety of the game, using in-game footage and canon as my source. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, click the bell, and tell me your favorite memory of Final Fantasy VIII in the comments below. And now, let's get into the tale. In the world of Final Fantasy VIII, technology hums alongside ancient magic, a duality shaping a landscape of sprawling cities, lush forests, and desolate wastelands. Nations like Galbadia, a militaristic superpower, and Esthar, a hidden technocracy, vie for dominance, while smaller regions like Timber languish under occupation. At the heart of this world are the Gardens, Balamb, Galbadia, and Trabia, training grounds for seeds, elite mercenaries wielding gunblades and guardian forces, powerful entities junctioned to their minds. Magic, drawn from monsters or the environment, fuels their strength, but at a cost. The prolonged use of guardian forces erodes their controller's memory, creating a price for power. Two gunblades meet in Balamb Garden's training center. Squall's Lionheart against Cypher's Hyperion. The pair is evenly matched, but the duel ends in bloodshed. Cypher's blade carves a diagonal scar across Squall's face, and Squall retaliates, creating a similar wound on Cypher's. They both collapse, breathless, as instructors rush in. Squall awakens in the infirmary to the hum of medical equipment, where his teacher Quistis arrives. She tells him he's late for his final exam, so Squall picks up his gunblade, gets himself composed, and follows her into the morning light. The Seed recruits are gearing up for their field exam, which involves a real mission to test their skills. Squall hasn't completed the prerequisite to the mission because of his fight with Cypher, but Quistis agrees to mentor him while he completes it. Squall runs into Selphie, an upbeat student who recently transferred to Balamb. Quistis explains that the test is the perfect opportunity for Squall to learn about magic and guardian forces. She travels with him into the Fire Cavern, where Squall confronts Ifrit, a powerful fire-based guardian force. After defeating the beast, Squall junctions it to his mind, feeling its power surge within him. Now qualified to take the field exam, he changes into his Seed uniform. He learns that his squad will include Zell, a loud and cocky master of hand-to-hand combat, and to his horror, Cypher, who will lead the group. Quistis stresses the importance of teamwork, but Cypher coldly says that everyone should just stay out of his way. Headmaster Cid, who founded Seed, advises the recruits to take the mission seriously. From Balamb town, they board a vessel that will take them to the exam site. On the way, they learn that Cypher has failed the test in the past, and they are also briefed on their mission. They are told that they are to land on the beach, reclaim the occupied city from G-Army units, and withdraw afterward. From their vessels, the Seed units approach the beach, landing cleanly as the battle commences. They make progress into the city, but Cypher charges ahead, zealous for battle. Acting in insubordination, he decides to pursue enemy units, prompting Zell to call him out for violating orders. Surprisingly, Squall asserts that he'll stand by Cypher's decision, and they proceed onward. At the communications tower, Selphie arrives to give orders to Cypher, but he charges ahead again and into the tower. The Galbadian soldiers successfully deploy the tower so it can broadcast propaganda, but Squall and his team arrive to dispose of a monster called Elvaret. Selphie gives the order to withdraw to the shore, so Cypher's squad rushes there. In hot pursuit of the Seed recruits, they're attacked by a giant spider-like robot, but Quistis arrives in the nick of time to finish it off with a Gatling gun. They all make it to shore and into the escape boats. The mission is a success, and the final exam is complete. Squall, Zell, and Selphie are awarded the official Seed rank by Cid, but Cypher fails and is disciplined because of his refusal to obey orders. At a celebration ball honoring the new graduates, Squall lingers on the balcony, where he notices a beautiful girl named Rinoa approach. She asks Squall to dance with her, and though he's reluctant at first, he ultimately gives in to her request and the two share a connection. The moment is cut short though, as Rinoa abruptly leaves just after fireworks appear overhead. After the ball, Quistis reveals to Squall that she's been demoted from an instructor to a regular member of Seed. She shares that she was told she lacked leadership qualities, but Squall withdraws and doesn't empathize with her. Outside of the facility, the two find a mysterious girl Squall recognized from the infirmary earlier being attacked by a monster. They free her from danger, but she's taken away by two strange men. Squall is awakened the next day by Selphie, who alerts him that he's to go to Timber as part of his first Seed mission. According to Sid, the goal is to support a resistance faction fighting against Galbadia, which has placed the city under martial law. On the train along the way, the three are knocked out by a deep sleep. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a platoon of Galbadian soldiers in the region years ago, including their leader, Laguna. The three take a detour to the Daling City Hotel, where Laguna is fascinated by Julia, the hotel pianist. Laguna is nervous around her, but Julia invites him to talk privately in her own hotel room. Laguna tells her that he hopes to quit the army and become a journalist, and Julia says she wants to sing in addition to playing piano. The two admit that they've been watching each other from afar, but the moment is cut short when Laguna receives new orders. Squall and his friends then awaken to the revelation that they all dreamed of the same events surrounding Laguna. When they arrive at Timber, Squall learns that Rinoa, his dance partner, is actually the leader of the Forest Owls, the resistance group he's assigned to support as part of Seed. After introducing her dog Angelo, she explains her plan is to seize the train carrying the president of Galbadia, Vinzer Daling, by swapping cars. They masterfully arranged the swapping of the cars as planned, but the man they believed was the president was merely a fake body double. After defeating its monstrous form, they learn that the president is arriving in Timber to broadcast at the local TV station, and that's why Galbadian forces work so hard to activate communications at Dollet. On the way to the station, Squall and his team view the live broadcast of President Daling, who proposes international peace negotiations. Just as he's about to introduce Galbadia's ambassador, Cypher storms into the room with the broadcast, disrupting the president and taking hostages. He threatens the president's life with his gunblade and reveals that Squall's team are Seed mercenaries from Garden, blowing their cover completely. Just then, the sorceress Edia appears. She subdues Quistis and convinces Cypher to let the president run free and leave with her to a place of no return. With the president's life spared, the two disappear, and Squall and the other Seed members realize that the Forest Owl's base has been destroyed. Unable to return to Balamb Garden, they choose to venture to Galbadia Garden instead. When the party wonders whether the president will retaliate against Garden, Squall seems not to care, so Rinoa scolds him for not having compassion for his fellow comrades. Just then, the full group falls under a deep sleep again. Laguna and his platoon are now in Esthar, having been sent there to inspect a mysterious Centra excavation site. The trio is driven to a precipice by Esthar soldiers, where they see Galbadian ships below. Just as the three fling themselves off the cliff, Squall and his group awakens, again realizing that they all shared the same dream. Still, they choose not to be distracted by it. When they arrive at Galbadia Garden, the team discovers that Balamb is safe, and is put under the impression that Cypher alone was blamed, and may have even been executed for his actions. Rinoa stuns everyone by saying she actually liked Cypher, and admits they even shared a romance in the past. Cypher's friends Fujin and Raijin set off to search for Cypher, and Squall and his team receive new orders from Headmaster Martine to assassinate the sorceress Edia. Martine says that President Daling's overtures for peace is only a ruse, and that Galbadia's ultimate goal is actually world domination. To assist them, Galbadia Garden's master sharpshooter and ladies' man, Irvine, is assigned to the team. The plan is for Irvine to take a shot from afar, but should he fail, Edia is to be attacked head-on. The group is tasked with going to Galbadia's capital, Daling City, where they are to meet with General Caraway to go over the details. They soon enter into the capital city and arrive at General Caraway's mansion. There they are told by a security guard that they cannot be allowed through until their skills have been tested, so he sends them to the tomb of the unknown king to retrieve the ID number of a lost student. When Squall and the others overcome the challenges of the tomb, they're allowed into the mansion. Everyone is stunned to learn that this is actually Rinoa's house because General Caraway is her father. The group splits into a sniper team, which is assigned to wait in the nearby clock tower for the opportunity to shoot, and a gateway team, which is assigned to drop the gates and trap Edea inside. Squall and Irvine form the sniper team, giving Squall the responsibility of fighting Edea directly if he must. Quistis, Zell, and Selphie form the gateway team. In a daring attempt to prove herself, Rinoa infiltrates the palace herself and meets with Edea, hoping to suppress her power with a magic device. However, she's immediately thrown back by the incredible power of the sorceress. Edea stands to give a public address, where she mocks the people of Daling as lowlives and filthy wretches. When President Daling attempts to stop her diatribe, she uses her magical energy to kill him right then and there in front of everyone. Edea hopes to sacrifice Rinoa to celebrate her ascension to power over Galbadia, so she magically animates two creatures out of wall fixtures to attack her. The jubilant crowd cheers for Edea, and an incredible ceremonial procession takes place. As it turns out, Cypher has appeared with her, apparently taking the role of her bodyguard. Squall and Irvine make their way to Rinoa and manage to save her from Edea's monsters. The two arrive at the designated sniper location, but Irvine has been overtaken with a surprising bout of nervousness and says he can't go through with the shot. The gateway team manages to drop the gates in time to trap the sorceress within. Squall persuades Irvine to take the shot, which is dead on, but Edea uses her magical power to shield herself and stop the bullet. Proceeding with the backup plan, Squall now lunges forward in an attempt to attack the sorceress himself. However, he is stopped in his tracks by Cypher, who says he has become Edea's knight. Squall manages to defeat Cypher in battle, but the sorceress mocks Squall for being a seed. His fellow mercenaries come to his aid, but Edea uses her magical power to form a giant shard of ice, flinging it forward and into Squall's chest. Darkness swallows him, and he begins to dream again. This time, Laguna is in civilian clothes with a woman named Rain, and the two take care of a girl named Alone, their adopted daughter. No longer a Galbadian soldier, Laguna lives in the town of Windhill and is visited by Kyros. The two remark that it's been 1 year since they both escaped from the Esthar ruin, and Laguna recalls that it took him 6 months to heal from his wounds. Kyros says that Ward quit the army as well, and that Julia, Laguna's love interest, recently got married to General Caraway because her true love went off to war and never came back. Galbadia remains in conflict with Esthar at this point, the latter of which is searching for a successor to its ruler, Sorceress Adele. Laguna worries that Alone is a target, because Esthar soldiers kidnap little girls. Still, he remains on guard as a monster hunter, Windhill's protector. As Laguna takes a nap, Zell awakens, but this time he was dreaming about Ward and not Laguna. He figures that the prison Ward works at as a janitor is where the group is being held, and they all fear the worst since Edea took control of Galbadia. Squall awakens in a cell to the realization that the wound in his chest is gone. Galbadian prison guards beat Zell and take Rinoa away at gunpoint. Cypher enters Squall's cell and mocks him. He then brings Squall elsewhere to torture and interrogate him and demands to know the reasons behind Seed's opposition to Edea. Squall refuses to give up any information, so Cypher reveals that the sorceress ordered missile attacks to hit both Trabia Garden and Balamb Garden, which are soon to take place. When Cypher leaves, the Galbadian guard continues to impose torture, and Squall passes out from electrocution. With a sense of purpose, Zell uses his martial arts skills to fight back against the Galbadian captors, and retrieves the party's weapons. The prison Moomba creatures surprisingly release Squall from captivity, and call him Laguna in an apparent case of mistaken identity. During the prison break, the group reunites with Squall, and Irvine helps them all escape from the underground prison. Now in the desert, they witness missiles flying through the air, Galbadia's apparent strike on Trabia Garden, where Selphie transferred from. They all look to Squall as their leader and seek his advice, but he has none to give. Ultimately, they split into two groups, where Selphie's team heads to stop the next missile launch, while Squall's team hijacks a train and makes their way to Balamb Garden. Selphie's team manages to sneak into the missile base with the help of Galbadian disguises, but they fail to stop the next launch. However, they do manage to set a self-destruct sequence, narrowly escaping the base as it's blown to smithereens. Meanwhile, Squall's team arrives at Balamb Garden to a scene of utter chaos. Students have split into two factions, one siding with Headmaster Cid and the other with Garden Master Norg, the wealthy financier of the Gardens. Faculty has even ordered the arrest or execution of Cid, who Squall and his party locates. They warn of the impending missile attack and stumble upon a control panel that can make Balamb Garden mobile. Believing this to be the key to saving the facility from the missile strike, Squall activates these capabilities, and Garden is able to escape the projectiles. However, the navigation controls stop responding, so Balamb Garden is left adrift in the ocean. In the process of showing Rinoa around Balamb Garden, Squall finds the mysterious girl again, who tells him he should remember her from the past, but he cannot. Soon enough, he's summoned by Garden Master Norg, who only cares about the profitability of Garden. Shocking everyone, he reveals that they were tricked into the assassination attempt by Headmaster Martine, and that Edea is actually Cid's wife. Norg seeks to kill Squall and his friends in order to prove that Garden wasn't behind the assassination attempt on the sorceress. After Norg is defeated, Cid is saved from danger. He admits to his marriage to Edea and explains that Garden's true mission has been to train seeds to defeat sorceresses. Even more surprising is the fact that Garden was actually Edea's idea, and she never believed its power would be used against her. Still adrift at sea, a Galbadian vessel intercepts Balamb Garden, and its crew jump on board and call themselves Edea's seed. They say they seek a girl named Alone, the same mysterious girl that Squall couldn't remember. As it turns out, this is the same Alone from Squall's dreams about Laguna. When Squall demands answers, Alone refuses, saddened that Squall has forgotten her. However, she admits being responsible for sending Squall and his friends into the dream world. She tells Squall he's her only hope, and is taken away by White Seed units. Balamb Garden crashes into Fisherman's horizon, causing anger within the pacifistic town. Cid assigns Squall to apologize to the local mayor for the destruction, but Mayor Dobe doesn't want any military organizations in the area at all. Even so, Galbadian troops invade and occupy the town. After they're defeated by Squall, Headmaster Cid makes an announcement that Seed will defeat the sorceress, Garden will be used as a mobile base, and most surprisingly, that Squall will be the new leader of Seed. Though he's reluctant to embrace the leadership role, Squall agrees, but insists that Cid not talk about his new responsibility as if it was his destiny. To celebrate Squall's promotion, his Seed friends perform a concert for him and give him some alone time with Rinoa. She implores him not to try to take on the entire world himself, and asks him to open up to others more. At first, Squall shrugs her off, but eventually shares a rare moment of vulnerability with her as he considers Rinoa's view that life is precious and trust in others is important. At the Shumi village, they discover that Garden Master Norg was actually an aberration, and that most of the Shumi are friendly. In fact, they fondly remember Laguna, who traveled through their town 17 years ago in a quest to save Alone from Esthar. The Shumi admire Laguna so much that they're currently building a statue of him. In the town of Windhill, where Laguna lived, Squall and his friends also learn that Rain once cultivated flowers, but she's no longer living. When they arrive at Balamb town, they find another mobile garden at the port, and learn that Galbadia is also searching for Alone under the direction of Fujin and Raijin. When the two are defeated, they admit that they aren't loyal to Edea, but instead to Cypher. At the request of Selphie, Seed heads to Trabia Garden, but finds it completely destroyed and in ruins. Selphie becomes completely distraught, and Rinoa fears the worst about what may happen to the team because they continue to oppose Edea. Irvine then shares a story of his childhood at an orphanage, and reveals that he developed a bond with a girl there. As it turns out, the girl was actually Selphie, and he recognized her as soon as they met. As they reminisce, both Quistis and Zell realize that their childhood memories overlap with the others, and they too came from the same orphanage. Even Squall comes to grips with the fact that he was there too, and developed a deep sense of loneliness after losing his sister, who went missing there. Squall soon realizes that his sister was actually Alone, and that Cypher grew up in the orphanage as well. As they grew up, Quistis became close to Squall out of a desire to replace Alone in his life. As they reflect upon hazy memories, they all realize that the Guardian forces they choose to junction to their minds must be to blame for their amnesia. The most stunning revelation comes to them when they realize that the matron of the orphanage was actually Edea, the same sorceress that controls Galbadia. With so many unanswered questions, they head to the orphanage searching for clues, but when they get there, they're confronted by the mobile Galbadia garden. In preparation for battle, Squall plans an assault, and Zell requests to borrow Squall's ring for a while. Commanding the Galbadian forces is Cypher, who deploys rocket-propelled motorcyclists onto Balamb Garden. Rinoa requests that Zell pass Squall's ring to her, so he does so, but Galbadia Garden soon rams directly into Balamb Garden, damaging its structure and sending Rinoa off the edge of the cliff and hanging on for her life. Concentrating his forces on the front gate and the quad, Squall comes to the realization that Balamb is outnumbered, calling for an adjustment in strategy. He plans to lead a team to board Galbadia Garden to strike Cypher and Edea directly, but first he decides to rescue Rinoa after being persuaded to do so by his friends. In the process, he's attacked by an armored paratrooper, tumbling out, grabbing onto the hover suit, and engaging in a fistfight above the chaotic battle below. Now in control of the armor, he saves Rinoa and brings her to safety. She gives Squall his ring, which bears a lion's head crest. It symbolizes strength and pride, and is named Griever. Fatigued from battle, Fujin and Raijin allow Squall and his team through the garden, and they soon encounter Edea and Cypher. Squall and his group defeat them both in battle, but Rinoa becomes possessed by a mysterious force and revives Cypher before falling into a coma. The shift also seems to rattle Edea, who wonders if she's protected alone. With Rinoa unconscious, Squall's friends sense that Edea has been calling out to them from the orphanage, so they all head there. Sid thanks the group for sparing the life of his wife despite the circumstances. When they meet with the former matron, she explains her actions were the result of having been possessed by Ultimecia, a powerful sorceress from the distant future. She says that the foe wishes to possess the body of sorceress Adele, the missing ruler of Esthar during the Sorceress War, and that she seeks Alone because of her power to accomplish the plan. This is because Alone holds the power to cast the time compression spell needed to assimilate all creation into herself and gain godlike power. During the explanation, Squall worries about Rinoa, so he hopes to find Alone so that her power can be used to save his love interest. Back at Balamb Garden, he dreams again of Laguna, who is filming a fictional movie with Kyros about saving a sorceress from a dragon. However, the dragon that attacks them is a real dragon and not a movie prop, so the two fight the beast. As Laguna approaches an odd rock formation, Alone communicates to Squall, saying that the past can't be changed. She knows this because she already attempted to use her powers to prevent Laguna from venturing off to find her in Esthar while Rain died in Windhill. Alone hoped to change the past to save Laguna, just as Squall now hopes to change the past to save Rinoa. With the help of a letter given to him by Edea, Squall boards the White Seed ship, but it turns out Alone is no longer on board. This is because she jumped onto an Esthar ship as White Seed was fighting with Galbadian forces. The ship was headed to Esthar, prompting Squall to take Balamb Garden there. Squall carries the comatose Rinoa into the region, where he shares his true feelings for her for the first time despite her condition. Edea says she wants to find Dr. Odin there because he may be able to rid her of her sorceress power. They all get to the top of a barren mountain, finding that the icy plain below them is just an illusion that hides the technologically advanced city of Esthar, which was hidden by a cloaking device. While inside, they fall into another dream involving Laguna. In this one, Laguna, Kyros, and Ward have been captured and have been forced to work in Lunatic Pandora in Esthar, where prisoners are planning to overthrow sorceress Adele. Laguna learns that Dr. Odin is researching Alone's power, and he manages to find her inside the laboratory just before Squall awakens again. Squall and his friends are taken to Odin in the present, and he agrees to bring Squall to Alone on the condition that he can study Rinoa. However, Squall insists on bringing Rinoa to Alone in the hopes that she can help break Rinoa's coma somehow. Odin relents, so Squall brings Rinoa to the Lunar Gate. He realizes he must be blasted into outer space to find Alone, so he agrees. As they're sent into orbit, a giant monolith, Lunatic Pandora, appears above Esthar City. Now inside the space station, Squall learns about its secret purpose, to seal sorceress Adele away so that she can never pass on her power again. After walking around a bit, they find Alone is safe and sound. She says her experiences moving through the past made her realize how loved she was, so she gives Squall her thanks. Squall demands that she put him into Rinoa's past so that he can warn her about the events that led to her comatose state, but Alone says she can't because she doesn't know Rinoa. The entire space station goes on high alert as Rinoa suddenly becomes possessed again. Horrifying everyone, she begins to deactivate Adele's seal, successfully removing the first layer. These events trigger the Lunar Cry, a massive cataclysmic event where a giant concentration of monsters on the moon is funneled toward Lunatic Pandora and the planet in general. In her possessed form, Rinoa launches herself out into space, flies toward Adele's tomb, and releases the final seal on the powerful sorceress. Adele has now been sent to Lunatic Pandora. While the space station is completely destroyed by the Lunar Cry, Squall and his friends narrowly escape its destruction on their way back to Earth. While the havoc unfolds, Squall finally convinces Alone to send him back into Rinoa's past in a desperate attempt to save her. There, he realizes that Rinoa was actually possessed by the sorceress Ultimecia after her powers were transferred from Edea. Cypher's revival was the work of the time-traveling sorceress. Ultimecia then uses her power to suppress the presence of Squall in Rinoa's past, but he still remains relentlessly committed to saving her. With the help of Alone, the two locate the present Rinoa, still adrift in space, who is no longer possessed. The voice of Squall reaches out to her, giving her assurances. He defies the warnings of his friends by ejecting himself out of the escape pod and grabbing Rinoa midair. Miraculously, the two are able to make their escape via Ragnarok, Esthar's flagship, which was sent drifting their way after Adele's seal was released. Defeating the monsters on board, Squall takes the helm of the Ragnarok and sets a course back to Earth. Rinoa jumps on Squall's lap, and the two share a romantic moment in each other's arms. Rinoa tells him that he's the one who gives her the most comfort and happiness, and Squall lets his guard down a little bit. However, the moment is cut short because of Rinoa's revelation that she can't stay with him because she's become a sorceress, and Esthar intends to seize her upon her arrival. With strong feelings for Rinoa, Squall realizes he can't allow her to be taken away from him, applying the lesson he learned from losing Alone at a young age. In Esthar, Rinoa reluctantly walks away with officials who intend to seal her away in stasis like Adele. Squall and his friends also learn that Edea is no longer a sorceress, having passed her power to Rinoa without realizing it. The Galbadian military is now controlling Lunatic Pandora, which contains a crystal pillar structure that calls monsters from the moon. The group also worries about the power of sorceress Adele, who is now back on Earth. Despite all the obstacles before them, Squall's focus remains solely devoted to rescuing Rinoa. Heading back to Esthar, Squall takes the Ragnarok to the Sorceress Memorial, barges into the facility, and frees Rinoa from her frozen state with his gunblade. The two run into each other's arms, sharing a loving embrace. Squall's escape from the facility is assisted by a familiar bulky-looking man in a green outfit, and the team regroups on the Ragnarok. Monsters are streaming into Lunatic Pandora. Cypher is now Ultimecia's puppet, and Sorceress Adele's liberation poses a new threat to the world. Back at the orphanage, Rinoa worries about her future as a sorceress, but Squall gives her encouragement and remarks that the true enemy of the world is Ultimecia. Squall and Rinoa now plan to stay together and devote themselves to each other. They also agree to make the flower field behind the building their meeting spot if they're ever separated again. Back on the Ragnarok, the crew receives a message from Esthar summoning them to a final seed mission, to defeat Ultimecia. Squall's uncertain about agreeing to it, figuring that it may be a trap to return Rinoa to Esthar. Even so, the message was sent by Kiros, Laguna's friend, piquing everyone's interest. In Esthar City, Squall realizes that Ward was the same man in the green outfit that helped him escape, and most shockingly, that Esthar's president is Laguna himself. Laguna thanks Squall and his friends for giving him strength whenever Alone connected them together, but he also laments that Alone was captured by Galbadia and remains inside Lunatic Pandora. According to Laguna, shortly after he rescued Alone in the past, she was sent back to Windhill and Rain died. This is why Alone was sent to be raised in the same orphanage the others grew up in. It turns out Alone went missing when Sid and Edea handed her over to White Seed in an attempt to protect her power, and she remained on the White Seed ship for 10 years. As they learn, it was actually Laguna's Estharian forces that saved her from the Galbadian ship. Laguna actually became president of Esthar when he developed a plan to protect Alone, and save Esthar at the same time. With Dr. Odine's help, he sunk Lunatic Pandora into the ocean, crafted a decoy of Alone as bait for Adele, and pushed Adele into a cryotube when she came looking for her. The powerful sorceress was then sealed and sent into space so that she could no longer pose a threat to civilization. For doing this, Laguna was hailed as the hero of the Estharian Revolution and appointed the new president of the nation. Laguna's plan for the mission entails defeating Adele so that the sorceress passes her powers to Rinoa, making her the sole sorceress left for Ultimecia to possess in the present. When this happens, the idea is to use Alone's power to send both of their minds into the past, triggering Ultimecia's time compression. Alone would then cut the connection, sending Rinoa and Ultimecia back to their respective eras and effectively nullifying the time compression spell. This will allow Squall and his friends to move through the future and kill Ultimecia, putting an end to time compression and returning everyone to the present. Laguna says that moving through the future depends on Squall and his friends strengthening their bonds with each other and believing in one another. To get the plan off the ground, Alone must be rescued from Lunatic Pandora, so they all head there. Along with Laguna, Kyros, and Ward, the group blasts their way into Lunatic Pandora with the weaponry equipped on the Ragnarok, and use the ship's talons to latch onto the structure. They're stopped at the entrance by Fujin and Raijin. Though both are still loyal to Cypher, they set Alone free and attempt to persuade Squall's adversary to abandon Ultimecia. Cypher refuses, saying he's now a revolutionary who intends to fulfill his true goal. Without clarifying what that means, he fights the party. During the battle, the mysterious swordsman Gilgamesh appears as a guardian force, unleashing his incredible power against Cypher and defeating him. In the process of his escape, Cypher runs away with Rinoa and attempts to offer her to Ultimecia, who now inhabits the body of Adele. As soon as she begins to possess Rinoa, Squall and the others arrive to do battle with the sorceress, destroying her and freeing Rinoa. However, Ultimecia succeeds in possessing Rinoa. With Ultimecia and Rinoa as the only remaining sorceresses, Alone uses her power to send the two into the past, triggering Ultimecia's time compression. Now, the past, present, and future are combined into a single world. Squall and his friends now find themselves in the future, a dark and horrific world ruled by Ultimecia. They eventually reach Ultimecia Castle, home of the evil sorceress, where the corpses of white seeds populate the old orphanage that no longer exists. Realizing that Seed has been fighting the sorceress through the generations, Squall and his group press on, and eventually reach Ultimecia herself. Upon her throne, she reveals her plan is to create a realm where all seeds are her slaves, and says she intends to send Squall and his friends into a dark dimension. Ultimecia invades Squall's mind and creates Griever, a guardian force formed out of Squall's idea of the most powerful force in existence, the lion-like creature etched into his ring. After they vanquish the foe, Ultimecia junctions herself onto Griever and confronts the group as well. When the junctioned Ultimecia is defeated, she unveils her final hellish form, unleashing her power against everyone. However, Squall and his friends manage to overcome the Dark Sorceress. Afterward, reality begins to revert back to its original form, and everyone must find their way back to their own era. Rinoa manages to return to the area she agreed to meet Squall at. However, Squall and Ultimecia find themselves back in Edia's orphanage when Squall was still a young child. There, he observes Ultimecia passing her powers to Edia and mentions her plans to build Garden and Seed. Squall tells Edia he's actually a seed from the future, revealing his power was to destroy the sorceress and setting his life's purpose. With time compressing, Squall enters into a nebulous realm, and Rinoa's voice calls out to him. He tries to make sense of it all, but he can't picture her face, so Rinoa tries to locate him. From their meeting place behind the orphanage, she transforms a petal into a white feather, which locates Squall, but he's too weak to follow it and falls unconscious. Even so, Rinoa is able to locate him, bringing him back to the meeting place in their own time, and paying him back for having been saved by him once. As Squall and Rinoa reunite, Cypher is fishing with Fujin and Raijin, apparently back as his old self. He smiles as he watches Balamb Garden pass overhead, having moved on from the conflict. Laguna reflects upon his marriage proposal to Rain when he slid a ring onto her finger and embraced her. In the current time, he visits her grave with Alone, Kyros, and Ward, looking down upon it. It's heavily implied that Squall is Laguna and Rain's son, having been conceived shortly before Laguna left for Esthar in search of a loan, and that Laguna never realized it. As he looks up, his attention is caught by Balamb Garden flying off into the distance. Everyone reunites at Balamb Garden for a celebration, where Sid attends the party with Edea, and everyone socializes with each other in a jubilant mood. On the garden balcony, Squall meets Rinoa, where the two watch the stars and then share a kiss while they embrace. Balamb Garden drifts off into the night and the moon can be seen overhead. But now, I want to hear from you. What was your favorite storyline moment of Final Fantasy VIII? Let me know in the comments below. Please also like this video, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a Patreon patron or YouTube member for exclusive perks, including advanced viewing of my videos.